The alarms screamed through the bridge of the Earth defense ship Guardian. Captain Lucas Henderson jumped from his chair and stared at the main screen. Something big was coming through the outer edge of the solar system near Jupiter. "What is that?" Lucas asked. Maya Sullivan worked fast at her station. Her fingers moved across the controls as data flooded her screens. "It's a ship, sir, but not like anything in our databases. The design is completely foreign." "Is it a threat?" "I don't think so, sir. The ship is barely holding together. They're broadcasting distress signals on every frequency I can detect." Lucas felt his heart beat faster. This was it. First contact with alien life. Every person on Earth had wondered when this day would come. He just never thought it would happen during his watch. "Get me a closer look," he ordered. The screen changed to show a vessel that looked nothing like human ships. It was long and curved, almost like a massive spine floating through space. Parts of the hull were torn open. Small fires burned in sections where the metal had melted. The ship tumbled slowly as it drifted toward the inner solar system. "They're in bad shape," said Nathan Cross from the medical station. The doctor had been quiet until now. "If there are survivors on that ship, they won't last long." Lucas made his decision quickly. "Prepare a boarding team. Maya, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have a situation. Nathan, get your medical team ready. We're going in." 20 minutes later, Lucas floated through the damaged corridors of the alien ship. His suit lights cut through the darkness. Behind him, 6 crew members followed with weapons ready and medical supplies packed on their backs. The air inside the ship was thin but breathable. Their scanners showed traces of oxygen mixed with gases they couldn't identify. The walls were covered in symbols that meant nothing to Lucas. Some of them glowed with a faint blue light. "Captain, I'm reading life signs ahead," Maya said through the radio. "Multiple contacts. They're weak but stable." They moved through 3 more corridors before they found the first alien. Lucas stopped and stared. The creature lay against a wall, its 4 arms wrapped around its body. Its skin was covered in scales that shimmered even in the dim light. The scales shifted colors from green to purple to blue. The alien's head was long and narrow, with large eyes that watched them approach. Nathan moved forward slowly, with his medical scanner out. "Don't be afraid," he said softly. "We're here to help." The alien made a sound like water running over rocks. Then it reached to a device on its chest and pressed a button. A mechanical voice spoke in broken English. "Help! Please! Others! Dying!" Lucas felt relief wash through him. "We will help! Take us to the others!" The alien, whose name they would later learn was Zisara, led them deeper into the ship. They found a large chamber where dozens of aliens lay on the floor. Some moved weakly. Others didn't move at all. Nathan and his team went to work immediately, scanning and treating injuries they had never seen before. Lucas knelt beside Zisara. "What happened to your ship? Who did this?" Zisara touched her translator again. The device seemed to be learning English faster as it listened. "The Council, the Galactic Council, they hunt us. We ran, barely escaped." "Why are they hunting you?" "We refused. They wanted us to hurt others, to take from worlds that cannot defend themselves. We said no. They declared us criminals, enemies of peace." Zisara's large eyes closed for a moment. "There is no peace in the galaxy. Only power, only control." Lucas felt anger rise in his chest. He had spent his whole career protecting Earth from potential threats, but he never imagined that somewhere in the galaxy, aliens were facing the same struggles humans had fought for centuries. The strong preying on the weak, the powerful crushing anyone who stood against them. "How many of you are there?" 73 survived. Many more died on the journey. "We are all that remains of our colony ship. Our homeworld is lost to us now." "Where were you going?" Zisara made a sound that the translator turned into laughter, but it was sad laughter. Nowhere, anywhere, away from the council. We hoped to find an empty world, somewhere to hide, somewhere to live in peace. Lucas stood up and looked around the chamber. His crew was working hard to save these aliens, these refugees who had nowhere to go and no one to help them. He thought about Earth's history, all the times people had fled from persecution and war, all the times they had searched for sanctuary. He made a decision that would change everything. "You're not going to hide," Lucas said. "You're coming with us, to Earth. We'll give you sanctuary." Zisara's eyes opened wide. "You don't understand. The council will come for us. They will threaten you. They might attack you." Let them come. Earth didn't get this far by abandoning people in need. "Your leaders, they will not agree to this." Lucas smiled. "Then I'll deal with that when the time comes. Right now you need help. That's all that matters." It took 6 hours to evacuate all 73 Varani from their dying ship. The Guardian's medical bay was packed with aliens being treated for injuries and malnutrition. Nathan and his team worked without rest. Maya coordinated with other Earth ships that arrived to help. Lucas stood on the bridge and watched as the Varani ship finally broke apart. The pieces tumbled into Jupiter's gravity well and burned up in the planet's atmosphere. It was the end of something for the Varani. But maybe, Lucas thought, it could be the beginning of something else. "Sir," "Earth Command is on the line," Maya said. "They want to know what you're doing. Tell them I'm bringing guests home. Tell them we have a lot to discuss." As the Guardian turned toward Earth, Lucas thought about what Zisara had said. The Galactic Council sounded like every empire that had ever existed. They demanded obedience and crushed dissent. They divided the galaxy into those who served and those who were conquered. But Earth had fought against empires before. Humanity knew what it was like to be told they were inferior, that they had no rights, that they should accept their place in someone else's order. And humanity had always chosen to fight instead. Maybe that was why the galaxy needed Earth. Not because humans were stronger or smarter than anyone else, but because humans remembered what it was like to struggle. They remembered what it was like to need help and have nowhere to turn. The Varani had come to Earth's solar system by accident. They had been running blind, hoping only to survive another day. They found something they never expected. They found a species that would stand beside them instead of turning them away. Lucas didn't know what would happen next. He didn't know if Earth Command would support his decision or if the Galactic Council would really come hunting for the Varani. But he knew one thing for certain. Earth would not abandon the Varani. Not now. Not ever. That was what it meant to be human. 6 months had passed since the Varani arrived on Earth. The desert in Arizona had transformed into a settlement where humans and aliens lived side by side. Lucas Henderson walked through the main street and watched children from both species play together in the dust. The young ones adapted faster than anyone expected. Zisara stood beside him, her 4 arms folded across her chest. She had learned to read human expressions well enough to know when Lucas was worried. "You received news from the capital," she said. It was not a question. "They're coming. The Galactic Council. They sent a message this morning. An ambassador will arrive tomorrow." Zisara's scales shifted to a dark blue color. Lucas had learned this meant fear. "They will demand our return. They will threaten your world." "I know. President Morrison has called an emergency meeting. She wants you there." "Me? Why would your leader want to speak with a refugee?" Lucas turned to face her. "Because you know them. You know how they think and what they want. We need that knowledge." The next morning, a ship appeared in Earth's orbit. It was nothing like the damaged vessel the Varani had arrived in. This ship was smooth and perfect, covered in a material that seemed to shift between solid and liquid. It reflected the sun like a mirror. Lucas stood in the White House meeting room with President Claire Morrison and her cabinet. Secretary of Defense Gregory Shaw paced near the windows. Chief Science Advisor Patricia Monroe studied data on her tablet. Everyone looked tense. The door opened and Zisara entered with two other Varani. Lucas had insisted they be part of this meeting. Whatever happened next would affect them most of all. President Morrison was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been a soldier before entering politics. She understood difficult choices. "Thank you for coming," she said to Zisara. "Please, sit." Zisara and her companions sat in chairs that had been modified for their bodies. The room fell silent as they waited. "The council ambassador will arrive in 1 hour," Morrison said. "Before that happens, I need to understand exactly what we're facing. Zisara, tell me about the Galactic Council." Zisara's translator clicked as she spoke. "The Council rules 12 species across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. They have existed for 4,000 Earth years. They claim to bring order and peace to the stars. But that's not the truth," Morrison said. "No. The Council divides species into ranks. First-rank species make the decisions. They own the most worlds and control the technology. Second-rank species serve them. They provide labor and soldiers. Third-rank species have no voice at all. They exist only to be exploited." Gregory Shaw stopped pacing. "And where do they plan to put humanity?" "They will offer you second-rank status. They will say it is an honor for such a young species. They will promise technology and knowledge. They will make it sound generous." "What's the cost?" Patricia Monroe asked. "Everything. You will give up your independence. Your military will serve council interests. Your resources will be taxed. Your people will go where the council sends them, and you will help them conquer other worlds. Worlds like yours was 100 years ago." The room was quiet for a long moment. Lucas watched President Morrison's face. She was thinking hard about something. "What happens if we refuse?" Morrison asked. "They will blockade your system, cut you off from the rest of the galaxy. They will spread lies about your species, make others fear you. If that doesn't work, they will find an excuse to attack." Shaw slammed his hand on the table. "Let them try. We didn't come this far to bow down to another empire." "Gregory," Morrison said quietly, "we need to think carefully about this." "There's nothing to think about, Madam President. We all know what the right choice is." Lucas spoke up. "With respect, sir, the right choice could cost millions of lives. The Council has ships and weapons we can barely understand. The Varani have shared some of their knowledge with us, but we're still decades behind Council technology." "So what do you suggest?" Shaw demanded. "We hand over the Varani? We abandon them after giving our word?" "No. But we need to be smart about this." Before anyone could respond, an aide entered the room. "Madam President, the ambassador has arrived. He's being escorted to the meeting hall now." Morrison stood. Everyone else stood with her. "Zisara, I want you and your people to stay out of sight during this meeting. Let me handle the ambassador." "I understand. But stay close. I may need your advice." The meeting hall had been chosen because it was large and impressive, high ceilings, marble floors, and windows that showed the gardens outside. It was meant to send a message that Earth was not intimidated. Ambassador Thelen entered the room, and Lucas understood immediately why the council sent him. The Azurite was not made of flesh. His body was composed of clear crystal that caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. He moved without walking, simply gliding across the floor. His voice came from everywhere at once. "President Morrison, I bring greetings from the Galactic Council." Morrison did not bow or show any sign of submission. She simply nodded. "Ambassador Thelen, welcome to Earth. I wish this visit was under better circumstances. The Council has learned that you are harboring criminals. The Varani refugees you rescued are fugitives from justice. We demand their immediate return." "Criminals?" What crimes did they commit? They refused a direct order from the council. They abandoned their post in a frontier colony. They stole a colony ship. These are serious offenses. They refused to participate in attacks on innocent people, Morrison said. Her voice was calm but firm. From what I understand, the council wanted them to raid worlds that had no space travel, worlds that couldn't defend themselves. They said no. That's not a crime. That's courage. Theln's crystalline form seemed to pulse with light. You do not understand the complexities of maintaining order across the galaxy. The Council has responsibilities you cannot comprehend. Then help me understand. Explain to me why attacking defenseless worlds is necessary for peace. We bring civilization to primitive species. We guide them, teach them, raise them up. By force? By taking their resources? By making them serve you? By showing them their place in the natural order. The strong lead, the weak follow. This is how the galaxy survives. Morrison walked closer to the ambassador. Lucas saw the anger in her eyes, but her voice remained steady. That's not order. That's oppression. Earth knows all about empires that claim to civilize those they conquer. We've seen where that path leads. Your opinion on the matter is irrelevant. The Council has made its decision. You will return the Varani, or face the consequences. And what consequences are those? Economic isolation. Your world will be cut off from galactic trade. No technology transfers, no diplomatic relations. You will be alone. We've been alone for our entire existence. We'll manage. Theln's voice grew colder. The Council can do much worse than isolation. We have the power to ensure Earth never leaves this solar system. Your species will be trapped here forever, watching the stars but never reaching them. Morrison smiled, and it was not a friendly smile. Is that a threat? Ambassador? It is a promise. Then let me make a promise in return. Earth will not surrender the Varani. Not today, not ever. More than that, we're declaring open sanctuary. Any species that is persecuted by the Council can come here. We'll protect them. The rainbow lights inside Theln's body flashed bright red. You are making a catastrophic mistake. The Council will not tolerate this defiance. The Council will have to learn to live with it. This meeting is over, Ambassador. You can leave now. Theln glided toward the door but stopped before leaving. You doom your entire species with this choice. When the Council comes, and we will come, remember that you were warned. Then he was gone. Lucas found President Morrison in her office an hour later. She stood at the window, staring out at the city below. Zisara was with her. You know this means war, Lucas said. Morrison nodded. I know, but what choice did we have? Surrender people who came to us for help? Become part of their system of oppression? That's not who we are. The people will support you, Lucas said, once they understand what the Council really is. I'm going to make a broadcast tonight. Tell everyone what's happening. They deserve to know the truth. Zisara spoke quietly. There are other species out there, species like mine who suffer under the Council's rule. If they see Earth standing against the Council, some of them might find courage to do the same. Morrison turned to face her. Is that what you want? A rebellion? I want freedom. For my people and for all people. The Council has ruled through fear for too long. Maybe it's time someone showed the galaxy that they can be challenged. Lucas felt something shift in the room. This was bigger than just protecting refugees. This was about changing the entire galaxy. It seemed impossible. But then again, humanity had done impossible things before. We're going to need help, Lucas said. We need to prepare, build better ships, train more soldiers. The Council won't wait long before they act. Then we'd better get started, Morrison said. Contact all defense stations. Tell them to begin preparations. And Lucas, work with the Varani. Learn everything they can teach us. We're going to need every advantage we can get. As Lucas left the office, he thought about what lay ahead. Earth was about to face the most powerful force in the galaxy. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time. But they had something the Council didn't understand. They had hope, and sometimes, hope was the most dangerous weapon of all. The first refugee ship after the Varani arrived 3 weeks later. It came through the outer system at high speed, with Council patrol ships close behind. Commander Ryan Baker led the defense wing that intercepted them near Mars. "This is Earth defense to unknown vessel," Ryan broadcast. "You are entering protected space. State your purpose." The reply came in a clicking, chittering language that the computers struggled to translate. "Sanctuary. We seek sanctuary. The human world that defies the Council." Ryan looked at his tactical display. 3 Council ships were closing fast. They would reach firing range in minutes. "All ships, defensive formation. Protect that refugee vessel." The Earth ships moved into position between the refugee and their pursuers. Ryan's heart pounded. This would be the first real test, the first time human and Council forces actually engaged in combat. "Council ships, this is Earth defense. You are ordered to break off pursuit. That vessel is under our protection." The Council commander's response was cold and mechanical. "Stand aside, humans. This does not concern you. The criminals aboard that ship will be returned to Council authority." "Not happening. Turn back now or we will fire." "You dare threaten Council vessels? Your primitive weapons cannot harm us." Ryan smiled. "Let's find out." He gave the order, and 6 human fighters opened fire. The weapons had been upgraded with Varani technology. The energy bolts hit the lead Council ship and tore through its shields. The ship spun away, trailing atmosphere from a dozen holes in its hull. The other 2 Council ships stopped their pursuit immediately. There was a long silence on the communication channels. Then the Council commander spoke again, and this time his voice held surprise. "Impossible. Your technology should not be capable of this. We've learned a lot in the past few months. Now leave our space." The Council ships retreated. Ryan escorted the refugee vessel to Earth orbit. When the aliens aboard came out, they were nothing like the Varani. These beings looked like giant insects with 6 legs and wings that sparkled in the sunlight. Their ship carried 300 individuals from a species called the Kethri. Their leader, speaking through a translator, explained their story. The Council had taken their homeworld 50 years ago. They had been forced to mine rare metals from deep in their planet's crust. Thousands died in the mines. When some Kethri tried to resist, the Council killed entire hive communities as punishment. "We heard what Earth did," the Kethri leader said. "We heard you said no to the Council. We did not believe it at first. No one says no to the Council. But then we saw the Varani on your broadcasts, living free. We had to try. We had to escape." More ships came after that. The Molgrath arrived in vessels filled with water. They were aquatic beings who looked like massive, intelligent octopi with silver skin. The Council had forced them into military service for 200 years. They had fought and died in wars they did not believe in. When they heard about Earth, an entire battle group deserted and made the jump to human space. Each new species brought their own stories of suffering. Each one had been exploited or oppressed by the Council, and each one had heard that Earth offered something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten: a chance to be free. Linda Hoffman watched the chaos in New York City and felt overwhelmed. She was a sociologist, not a miracle worker. But somehow she had been put in charge of integrating 17 different alien species into human society. The challenges were enormous. Some aliens breathed different gases. Others needed high-pressure or low-pressure environments. Some saw in spectrums humans couldn't detect. Some communicated through sense or electric pulses. "We need to redesign entire city blocks," she told her team during a meeting. The Molgrath need water habitats, the Kethri need higher temperatures and different air mixtures. The Varani can adapt to our environment, but some of the other species cannot. Kelly Martinez, a construction engineer, pulled up blueprints on the main screen. We can do it. We've already started converting the old harbor district for the Molgrath. The Kethri settlement in the desert is almost finished. It's just a matter of scaling up. And the cost? The government is covering most of it. Plus, the refugees are helping. The Varani engineers are amazing. They've shown us building techniques that cut construction time in half. And the Kethri are natural miners. They've offered to help extract resources we need. Linda nodded slowly. It was working somehow. Yes, there were problems. Yes. There were protests from people who feared the aliens or resented the cost. But most humans seemed to understand what was at stake. This was about more than just helping refugees. This was about standing up to bullies. And humanity had always been good at that. In Arizona, Brandon Cole taught English to a class of young Varani. The children were quick learners. They absorbed language faster than human kids. But what surprised Brandon most was how much he learned from them. "Teacher Brandon," one of the young Varani asked, "why does Earth help us? Your people gain nothing from this." Brandon thought about how to answer. "We help because it's the right thing to do. Because we remember when we needed help and no one came. Because we believe everyone deserves a chance to live in peace. But the council will punish you. Maybe. But that doesn't change what's right." The young Varani's scales shifted to a warm yellow color. Brandon had learned this meant happiness. "You are strange, humans, but good strange." Brandon laughed. "I'll take that as a compliment." Lucas Henderson stood in the command center and studied the tactical maps. More council ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system. They weren't attacking yet, just watching, waiting. "They're building up forces," Ryan Baker said. He had been promoted after his successful defense of the first refugee ship. "Intelligence suggests they're gathering a fleet. When they come, they'll come in force." "How long do we have?" "Best guess, 6 months, maybe less." Lucas looked at the numbers. Earth had 50 combat-ready ships. The refugees had brought maybe 20 more that could fight. Against the Council's fleet of hundreds, the math was not good. "We need an edge," Lucas said. "Something they won't expect." Zisara entered the command center with another Varani named Vorshan. The engineer had been working with human designers for months. "We may have something," she said. She activated a holographic display. It showed a location far outside the galactic rim. "This is the Founder's Archive. It is a legend among the old species. The civilization that uplifted the current council species millions of years ago left behind a repository of their knowledge and technology. The council has searched for it for centuries," Vorshan added. "They have never found it." "But you know where it is," Lucas said. "The Varani discovered it decades ago. We kept it secret. We knew the council would abuse the power they found there. But now, with Earth standing against them, perhaps it is time to reveal the archive." Patricia Monroe studied the hologram. "What kind of technology are we talking about?" "Advanced weapons, better shields, faster engines, medical technology that could cure diseases you did not even know existed, and more, much more. The Founders were far beyond anything the current galaxy can achieve." Lucas felt hope stir in his chest. "This could change everything, if we can get to the archive before the council attacks." "There is a condition," Zisara said quietly. "The Varani will share the archive's location with Earth. But you must promise that the knowledge will be used only for defense, not conquest, not oppression. The council became corrupt because they forgot why power exists. To protect, not to dominate." President Morrison had joined them without Lucas noticing. "You have my word," she said. "Earth will not become what we're fighting against. We'll use this knowledge to defend the innocent, nothing more." Zisara studied Morrison's face for a long moment. Then her scales shifted to a deep blue, almost purple. It was a color Lucas had never seen before. Later, he would learn it meant trust. "Then we will go together," Zisara said. "Humans and Varani, to the archive, to find what the founders left behind." The expedition was prepared in secret. Lucas would lead it aboard a ship called the Discovery. His crew included Varani engineers, Kethri navigators, and human scientists. Patricia Monroe insisted on coming. "I'm not missing this," she said. "This is the scientific discovery of a lifetime." Before they left, Lucas met with Ryan Baker in private. "The defense of Earth is yours now," he said. "If the Council attacks while I'm gone, you'll have to hold them off." Ryan nodded grimly. "We'll hold. You just make sure you come back with something that can help us win." "That's the plan." "And Lucas, good luck." The Discovery launched on a quiet morning. Most of Earth didn't know where it was going or why. Only a handful of people knew about the archive. If the Council found out, they would do everything in their power to stop the expedition. As they made the jump to faster-than-light travel, Lucas stood on the bridge and watched Earth shrink behind them. He thought about all the refugees who had come seeking shelter, all the species who had suffered under the Council's rule. They were all counting on this mission. Counting on Lucas and his crew to find something that could level the odds, something that could give them a real chance against an empire that had ruled for thousands of years. The archive was waiting somewhere in the darkness beyond the galaxy, and with it, maybe the key to everything. Lucas just hoped they would find it in time. Behind them, in Earth's solar system, the Council fleet continued to grow. Ships arrived every day from across the galaxy. They formed up in formation outside the orbit of Pluto, waiting, watching, preparing for the war that was coming. Aboard the flagship, a Council admiral studied reports about Earth, about the refugees who had fled there, about humanity's defiance of Council authority. "This will end soon," the admiral said to his officers. "The humans will learn what happens to those who defy the Council. They will learn that there is no sanctuary from us, no escape, no hope." But the admiral was wrong, because hope was exactly what Earth had given to the galaxy, and hope was harder to kill than any fleet. The Discovery traveled for 3 weeks through the empty space beyond the galaxy's edge. Out here, the stars were scattered and dim. The darkness pressed in from all sides. Lucas spent hours on the bridge, watching the void and wondering if they were chasing a ghost. Patricia Monroe worked constantly in the science lab. She had barely slept since they left Earth. Her team analyzed the coordinates Zisara provided, cross-referencing them with gravitational readings and quantum fluctuations. "There's definitely something out here," she told Lucas during one of his visits to the lab. "The readings are strange. It's like space itself has been folded, hidden." "Can we find it?" "We're getting close. Another few days, I think." On the 4th week, the sensors detected something impossible. A structure the size of a small moon floating in the void. It looked like a massive crystal, faceted and perfect, rotating slowly in the darkness. "That's it," Zisara said quietly. "The Founder's archive." Lucas stared at the screen. "How do we get inside?" Vorshin worked at the navigation controls. His 4 arms moved quickly across different panels. "The Varani learned the access codes decades ago, but the defenses are still active. We must approach carefully." The Discovery moved slowly toward the archive. As they got closer, energy barriers became visible. They flickered and shifted, creating patterns that hurt to look at. Lucas could feel his head beginning to ache. "Those barriers have kept the archive safe for millions of years," Zisara explained. "Nothing can pass through them without the proper authorization." Vorshin transmitted a series of codes. The barriers parted, creating a narrow opening. The Discovery slipped through into a docking bay that looked like it had been carved from pure light. Lucas led a team inside. Patricia Monroe stayed close beside him, her scanner recording everything. Sophie Grant, a young lieutenant, kept her weapon ready even though there was no sign of danger. The interior of the archive was beautiful and terrifying. Halls stretched in directions that seemed to defy physics. Walls glowed with information written in languages no one could read. The air hummed with power. "The archive contains the entire knowledge of the founders," Zisara said. "Everything they learned, everything they created, everything they feared." "Feared?" Lucas asked. "Come. We will show you." They walked for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Time seemed uncertain in this place. Finally, they reached a massive chamber. In the center floated a crystal sphere. It pulsed with a soft blue light. "This is the main database," Vorshan said. "Touch it. It will connect with your mind, show you what the founders left behind." Lucas reached out slowly. His fingers brushed the crystal surface, and the world exploded into light and knowledge. Images flooded his mind. He saw the founders as they had been millions of years ago. They were tall beings made of energy and matter mixed together. They had built a civilization that spanned galaxies. They had reached heights of achievement that seemed impossible. But then he saw what came after. The darkness at the edge of everything. A force that consumed light and life and thought itself. The founders called it the silence. The silence had come from outside their reality. It had broken through into their universe and begun destroying everything. The founders fought back with all their technology, all their power. They won battles, but they were losing the war. So they made a choice. They would seed the galaxy with their knowledge, uplift young species, give them the tools they needed to fight, and then the founders would lead the silence away, sacrificing themselves to buy time for those who came after. The vision showed the founders' final message, a warning recorded in this archive and hidden away. The silence would return. It always returned, and when it came back, the galaxy would need to be united, strong, ready to fight together. But the current council had failed. They had taken the founders' gifts and used them for conquest. They had divided the galaxy instead of uniting it. They had created exactly the opposite of what the founders intended. Lucas pulled his hand away from the crystal. He gasped for air. Patricia caught him before he fell. "What did you see?" she asked. "Everything," Lucas said. "The truth about the founders, about why they left all this behind, and about what's coming." He explained the vision to the team. As he spoke, he watched their faces change from wonder to horror to determination. "The silence is returning," Sophie said. "When?" "The archive doesn't give an exact date, but soon, within a generation, maybe less." Patricia looked at the crystal sphere. "And the council doesn't know any of this." "They know the legends," Zisara said, "but they dismissed them as myths. They convinced themselves the founders were just another empire building monuments to their own glory. They never understood the warning." "We need to download everything we can," Lucas said. "All the defensive technology, all the knowledge about the silence, everything that can help us survive." They worked for 2 days straight. The archive's systems were designed to share knowledge, but the amount of information was overwhelming. Patricia and her team focused on the most critical data: weapons systems, shield technology, power generation, medical advances. But they also found something unexpected: a complete record of every species the founders had encountered, including detailed information about the species that now made up the Galactic Council. "This is important," Patricia said. "It shows how the Council species were before they were uplifted, what they valued, what they believed. The founders didn't just give them technology. They tried to teach them philosophy, ethics, the importance of unity." "But somewhere along the way, the lessons were forgotten," Lucas said, "or deliberately ignored." As they prepared to leave the archive, Lucas stood in the main chamber one last time. He touched the crystal sphere again, but gently, asking a question instead of receiving a vision. Can we win? Can we stop the silence? The archive responded with feelings more than words: uncertainty, hope, a sense that the outcome was not yet decided. Everything depended on choices that had not been made yet. Lucas understood. The founders could not guarantee victory. They could only provide the tools and the knowledge. The rest was up to those who came after. The discovery left the archive with its data banks full of information that would take years to fully understand. But they had what they needed most: proof that the Council had failed in their purpose, and the technology to give Earth a real chance. As they made the jump back toward the galaxy, Lucas composed a message to be sent to the Council leadership. It would arrive before the discovery reached Earth. The message was simple. Lucas explained what they had found at the archive. He provided evidence of the founders' true intentions. He warned them about the silence and what it would mean if the galaxy remained divided. Then he made an offer. Join with Earth and the refugee species. Create the alliance the founders intended. Prepare together for the threat that was coming, or continue on their current path and face the silence alone. Do you think they'll listen? Patricia asked. Some of them will. Not all, but maybe enough. And if they don't? Then we show them why Earth was chosen by the founders, why humanity deserves a place among the stars. The discovery arrived in Earth's solar system 2 weeks later. What they found shocked them all. The Council fleet had grown massive. More than 300 ships filled the space beyond Pluto, but they had not attacked. Ryan Baker met them as soon as they docked. You need to see this, he said. In the command center, the screens showed something impossible. 12 Council ships had broken formation. They were moving toward Earth orbit, but not to attack. They were broadcasting requests for sanctuary. It's been happening for the past week, Ryan explained. Ever since your message reached the Council, 4 species have officially left the Council and asked to join us. 8 more are considering it. Lucas felt joy and fear mixed together in his chest. The Council is fracturing. Yes, but that makes the ones who remain more dangerous. Their leaders are calling for immediate military action. They want to crush Earth before more species defect. How long do we have? Days, maybe hours. They're preparing for a full assault. Lucas turned to Patricia. How fast can you share the archive data with our engineers? We've already started. The basic defensive systems can be implemented within a day. The more advanced technology will take longer. Then we use what we can and pray it's enough. The next morning, President Morrison broadcast a message across all frequencies. It was transmitted to Earth, to the refugee species, to the Council fleet, and to every corner of the galaxy that could receive it. She spoke about what Lucas had found at the archive, about the founders' true purpose, about the silence that was coming. She explained that the Council had failed in their duty to unite the galaxy. Instead, they had divided it. Then she made her offer one more time. Any species that wanted to stand together against the coming darkness was welcome. Earth would not conquer or dominate. Earth would protect and serve alongside all who chose freedom. The founders gave us a mission, Morrison said, to stand together, to defend life in all its forms, to face the darkness as one united force. Earth accepts this mission. We ask only that others join us, not as servants or subjects, but as equals, as allies, as friends. The response from the Council leadership was immediate and furious. They declared Earth an enemy of galactic order. They demanded all species return to Council control. They prepared their fleet for attack. But something had changed. The message had been heard, not just by governments, but by ordinary people across thousands of worlds. They saw the evidence from the archive. They learned about the founders' warning. They understood what was at stake. On 4 council worlds, populations rose up and overthrew their governments. They declared independence and pledged support to Earth. On 8 more, debates raged about whether to stay loyal to the council or join the rebellion. The galaxy was tearing itself apart, and at the center of it all stood Earth, small, young, defiant Earth, ready to face an empire that had ruled for thousands of years. Lucas stood on the bridge of the Guardian and watched the council fleet begin its approach. The massive armada moved slowly but inevitably toward Earth. This was it, the moment everything had been building toward. "All ships, prepare for combat," he ordered. "Remember what we're fighting for, not just our world, but every world that dreams of freedom." The battle for Earth was about to begin. The council fleet came like a storm, 300 ships against Earth's 70. The numbers were terrible, but Lucas had learned something from the Varani. Sometimes courage mattered more than firepower. "Hold formation," he commanded. The human and refugee ships formed a defensive line between the council fleet and Earth. Every captain knew this might be their last stand. The council admiral opened a communication channel. His voice was cold and final. "This is your last chance. Surrender the refugees and submit to council authority. Refuse and we will destroy you." President Morrison responded from the surface. Her voice was broadcast across every frequency so the whole galaxy could hear. "Earth does not surrender. Earth does not bow. Come and face us if you must, but know that you face warriors who fight for freedom, and freedom is worth dying for." The council fleet opened fire. Energy beams lit up the darkness. Missiles streaked toward Earth's defensive line. But the shields held. The technology from the Founders' Archive had been rushed into production. It was not perfect, but it worked better than anyone dared hope. Lucas gave the order to return fire. Human weapons, upgraded with Varani engineering, struck back at the council ships. The first wave of council fighters broke apart under the unexpected assault. "They're surprised," Ryan Baker said from his ship. "They expected easy targets. They're getting a war." The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides burned and died. Lucas watched good people sacrifice themselves to protect Earth. He watched aliens who had been enemies of the Council weeks ago fight alongside humans like they had been allies forever. The Kethri fighters moved in swarm patterns that confused Council targeting systems. The Molgrath ships, designed for underwater combat, proved surprisingly effective in space. They moved in ways the Council did not expect, but the Council had numbers. For every ship they lost, they had 3 more. Slowly, inevitably, they pushed forward. "We can't hold," Sophie Grant reported. Her ship had taken heavy damage. "They're breaking through our left flank." Lucas was about to order a retreat when something impossible happened. New ships appeared on the sensors, dozens of them, then hundreds. They came from jump points across the system. "Identification," Lucas demanded. The communications officer looked stunned. "Sir, they're transmitting friendly codes. It's the Azurite defectors and the Kethri homeworld fleet and the Molgrath battle groups. They're all here. They're all fighting for us." President Morrison's message had reached farther than anyone knew. Species across the galaxy had been watching Earth stand against the Council. They had seen the evidence from the archive. They had heard the truth about the Founders. And they had made their choice. The new arrivals crashed into the Council fleet from behind. The battle became chaos. Council ships found themselves surrounded. Their admiral tried to rally his forces, but it was too late. The fleet was crumbling. "This is Admiral Tyler Brooks to Council ships," came a new voice on the communication channels. Brooks commanded a group of 20 human vessels. "You're beaten. Stand down before more lives are lost." The Council admiral refused. "The Council does not surrender. We will fight until the last ship." "Then you'll die alone," Brooks said, "because half your fleet is already retreating." It was true. Council ships were breaking formation and jumping away. Some were fleeing, others were joining the Allied forces. The Empire was falling apart in real time. Lucas made a decision that would define the next century. All ships, cease fire. Let them go. This battle is won. Sir, we can destroy them, Ryan protested. We could, but we won't. We're not here to conquer. We're here to protect. Let them run. Let them tell others what happened here. The battle ended not with a final explosion, but with silence. The Council fleet retreated. They left behind wrecked ships and shattered pride. They had come to crush a rebellion. Instead, they had created a revolution. In the days after the battle, Lucas walked through the refugee settlements on Earth. He saw humans and aliens working together to rebuild what had been damaged. He saw children from 6 different species playing in the streets. Zisara found him watching a group of young Varani teaching human kids how to speak their language. You did well, Captain Henderson. We all did well. This wasn't just Earth's victory. No, it was everyone's victory. The victory of those who chose freedom over control, unity over division. But it's not over. The Council still exists. They still have power. Less than before. 4 species have officially left the Council. 8 more will leave within the month. The Empire is crumbling. Within a year, there may be no Council at all. Lucas thought about that. And what comes after? That is the question we must all answer together. President Morrison called a gathering of representatives from every species that had fought in the battle. It was held in a massive assembly hall that had been built in record time. Humans, Varani, Kethri, Molgrath, and 30 other species filled the space. Morrison stood at the center and spoke to them all. We won a battle, but we face a greater challenge. The silence is coming. The founders warned us. We must prepare. How do we prepare for something we don't understand? Asked a Kethri representative. By doing what the founders intended, by working together, by sharing knowledge and resources. By building the alliance that should have existed all along. A representative from one of the former Council species stood. He looked nervous but determined. My people spent 1,000 years following the Council's lies. We oppressed others because we were told it was necessary. We have much to make up for. Then help us build something better, Morrison said. Help us create a galaxy where every species has a voice, where strength protects instead of dominates, where the strong help the weak rise instead of keeping them down. The Assembly voted to form a new alliance. They called it the Union of Free Worlds. There were no ranks, no first-class and second-class species. Every member had equal say. Every voice mattered. The charter was simple. Protect each other, share knowledge freely, respect the rights of all sapient beings, and prepare together for the silence. Lucas was asked to lead the Union's defense force. He accepted on one condition. I want representatives from every species in command positions. This has to be a truly unified force, not just humans leading others. Zisara became the chief engineer. Ryan Baker commanded the rapid response fleet. Sophie Grant led the training programs for new recruits. Aliens and humans worked side by side in every position. The transformation took years. The Union built new ships using technology from the archive. They established defense stations across dozens of systems. They sent out exploration teams to search for more of the Founders' hidden caches. And they waited for the silence. 5 years after the battle for Earth, Lucas stood on Unity Station. It was the largest space station ever built, orbiting Earth like a small moon. Representatives from 47 species lived and worked there. He looked out the observation window at the ships coming and going, vessels from 100 worlds, trade ships and passenger ships and military vessels all moving in peaceful coordination. President Morrison joined him at the window. She was older now, her hair completely gray, but her eyes were still sharp. Hard to believe sometimes, isn't it? That this all started with one damaged refugee ship. Sometimes the smallest spark starts the biggest fire. The Council officially dissolved last month, did you hear? The last 8 species joined the Union. Even the Azurites finally came around. What about the old council leadership? Most of them retired quietly. A few are facing justice for their crimes. But we're not seeking revenge. Just accountability. Lucas nodded. That's good. We need to be better than they were. Speaking of which, I have news. The long-range sensors have detected something at the Galactic Rim, anomalies that match the Founder's descriptions of the silence. Lucas felt his blood run cold. How long? 20 years. Maybe 30. We have time, but not much. Then we need to use every moment. Train harder, build faster, prepare better. Morrison smiled. That's what I told the Union Council. They're already mobilizing. Every species contributing what they can. We're going to face this together. The way it should have been from the start. Lucas turned back to the window. He thought about everything that had happened. How the Varani had stumbled into Earth's solar system, broken and desperate. How one decision to help them had cascaded into the transformation of an entire galaxy. The Union was not perfect. There were still conflicts and disagreements, still prejudices to overcome and wounds to heal. But they were trying. They were building something new, something better. And they were doing it together. Zisara approached with a young Varani beside her. The child looked up at Lucas with curious eyes. Teacher says you saved my mother, saved all of us. Lucas knelt down to the child's level. We helped each other. That's what allies do. When the silence comes, will you fight it too? Yes. All of us will. Every species in the Union, standing together. And will we win? Lucas thought about the question. He thought about the odds and the dangers and all the unknowns. Then he thought about everything they had already overcome, all the impossible things they had achieved by refusing to give up. Yes, he said, we'll win, because we're not alone anymore. None of us are alone. The child's scales shifted to bright yellow, happy color. She ran off to play with a group of human and Kethri children. Morrison watched them go. You really believe that? That we can beat the silence? I believe that the founders chose to believe it. They left us everything we need to try. The rest is up to us. Then I suppose we'd better not disappoint them. Lucas looked out at the galaxy spread before him. Millions of stars, billions of worlds, and somewhere out there, the silence was coming, an ancient threat that had destroyed the founders themselves. But the galaxy was different now, united instead of divided. Strong because of diversity, not despite it. The Council had tried to rule through fear and force. The Union chose cooperation and respect. Maybe that would make the difference. Maybe that was what the founders had hoped for all along. Not just weapons and technology to fight the darkness, but wisdom to stand together when it came. The alert sensors beeped. Another ship was approaching Unity Station. Lucas checked the display and smiled. It was a refugee vessel from a species the Union had never encountered before. They were broadcasting a simple message. We heard about the Union of Free Worlds, about the alliance that welcomes all who seek freedom. We have nowhere else to go. Will you help us? Lucas opened a communication channel. This is Unity Station to refugee vessel. You are welcome here. Prepare to dock. We'll take care of you. Because that was what they did now. That was who they had become. The galaxy had expelled the refugees, but humanity and its allies had embraced them. And in doing so, they had built something worth fighting for, something worth saving. The silence could come. Let it come. They would be ready, together.